Science is a huge field, filled with so many disciplines, all of which are continuously advancing. Whether it is the latest ecological research or looking at what is happening out there in our solar system, there is sure to be something new being researched and announced at any given time. So today, here at Unexplained Mysteries, we will be taking a look at 3 recent scientific discoveries. Eye of Sauron discovered underwater. Sometimes some of the most interesting things are discovered by scientists to have been lurking under our oceans the entire time. In one recent instance, a crew aboard CSIRO's research vessel, the RV Investigator, operating a multi-beam sonar, noticed that a strange formation was appearing. The sonar map depicted what turned out to be an ancient volcano resting over 3,000 meters below sea level in the Indian Ocean not far from Christmas Island. The volcano's appearance in the sonar map looked for all the world like the iconic Eye of Sauron from the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and was just as surprising to scientists who had never suspected that such a massive formation could be hidden there. The eye structure and the neighbouring seamounts make up a caldera, which is an oval depression in the sea floor caused by the collapse of empty chambers at the base of a volcano. This specific formation consisted of a 6.2 km by 4.8 km caldera extending 300 meters deep, with a relatively new peak rising another 300 meters high from the centre of the eye. Amazingly, this unexpected, ancient undersea volcano was just the tip of the iceberg, so to speak. Just a short distance away, the seafloor gave way to a second underwater mountain dotted with volcanic cones similar to the one in the middle of the Eye of Sauron, as well as a larger flat seamount. The researchers who discovered them dubbed them Barad-dûr and Ered-Lithu, respectively, in keeping with the Lord of the Rings theme. Although these names are all in good fun, they are surprisingly appropriate to the shape and composition of the formations, which are part of a seamount cluster that is estimated to be over 100 million years old. Researchers believe that Ered-Lithu once projected from the ocean, albeit during a time so long ago that Antarctica sat next to Australia, and the flat top was created by the erosion of waves over time as the seafloor sank down to its current position. Additionally, although Ered-Lithu and Barad-dûr are likely as old as the surrounding seamounts and are covered with over 100 meters of sand and mud deposited during the intervening years, a caldera that old would have been partially buried by the sediment deposition. Since the Eye of Sauron is still prominent, it's thought that it's a relatively new volcano that has more recently erupted from the sea floor. These structures can help to give scientists and other marine life researchers a better idea of how the Earth's crust formed hundreds of millions of years ago, as well as all of the changes that it has undergone since then. Currently, the old sea floor does not look hundreds of millions of years old and is covered in beautiful sea life and corals. Afterlife feels even more real than real, research says. All of us wonder what will happen when we depart from this life. Some think they have the answer, and some accept that they will never know. However, there are a select few that can tell us exactly what happens after we depart from life. Once you go to heaven and live to talk about it, your story will shock the world. Picture this: it is the perfect day. You are on your Sunday stroll through the neighbourhood, listening to the songs of birds, soaking up the sun and gazing up at a cloudless sky of pure bliss. Peacefully distracted, you step off the pavement into the street. Brakes screech, horns blare, shock and horror overtake the space. You snap back to reality just as the truck hits you. You are numb and unexplainably dazed. You ask, is this the end? And you know the answer. You are floating above yourself, looking down. People crowd over your lifeless body. The air is buzzing with muted screams. A warm light opens above you. It beckons softly. You follow it as it compels you to a place that feels even more alive than you have ever felt. An indescribable bliss covers you and you know that you made it, only to wake up to the mundane beeps of an ECG monitor next to your hospital bed. But magic is over. The science begins. Near-death experiences, or NDEs, are nothing short of fascinating. Patients in intensive care are scared to tell their stories. Dr. Stephen Lorrays of the Coma Science Group states, "They are afraid people won't take them seriously, especially doctors and scientists. People who experience this once-in-a-lifetime journey are often changed forever. Many claim to be happier than they have ever been, and some no longer fear departing from life. The experience becomes a cornerstone of their lives. Many psychological tests have revealed that memories of ND experiences are much more vivid than any other memory. Those who have experienced NDEs claim that their brush with death felt even more real than real," Lorrays says. The true magic of these events is that almost everyone that experiences an NDE has a similar story to tell. Stories from people across cultural, ethnic, and religious perspectives will often have the same experience. After being close to passing over, some people will report having had an out-of-body experience, having seen a bright light, or being passed through a tunnel, all well-known elements of the famous NDE, according to recent studies. One patient of the study claimed, "I felt as if I was sucked out of my body at one point. I was going through a completely black tunnel, very, very quickly, a speed you cannot express because you just don't experience it." His journey continued when he said, "A light appeared at the end of the tunnel. The light was female, and she indescribably communicated with me." New human species, Dragon Man. Whether it be from a caveman movie or an anthropology class, you are likely already familiar with the fact that Homo sapiens are descendants of Neanderthals. And, while it is still true, it seems that there may in fact be a species that replaces Neanderthals as being one step closer to the humans of today. A prehistoric skull found in China is impressively similar to our own, according to researchers, and is likely more closely related to Homo sapiens than Neanderthals. Those studying the skull were amazed by its similarity to our own, with a large head likely containing a similarly large brain and broad jaws and big eyes. In fact, the incredibly well-preserved skull astonished researchers by being the largest skull of the Homo species ever discovered. However, he still had a few primitive qualities mixed in with the more modern that made the skull truly unlike anything the researchers had ever seen. The research team used computer technology to analyze hundreds of individual traits and then create a digital likeness of what the man might have looked like and what region each of his traits most closely related him to. When this skull was combined with a few other odd features in fossils that had been discovered in China, a new human-like species emerged. It seems that this species, dubbed Homo longi, lived and evolved in the same time period that Homo sapiens and Neanderthals were evolving and walking the earth, and astonishingly dated the common ancestor between humans and Neanderthals to only 1 million years ago. This is 400,000 years earlier than previous estimations. As amazing as these findings may be, there are some researchers that are not convinced that the skull truly is a member of its own species, and are instead suspicious that it could be a Denisovan fossil, believing that too much credence has been given to certain features, resulting in misidentification and mistaken conclusions. The Denisovans were a less populous human ancestor that evolved in Asia around the time, and some researchers doubt the findings of the original study, citing instead that they see links between the features of the skull found and those of the Denisovans. The skull, regardless of its origins, has a rather impressive story. Found by a Chinese labourer in 1933, he buried it in an abandoned well rather than give it to his boss, who was a Japanese invader. From there, it remained buried for the next 85 years, a fact which likely saved it, as an immense amount of tumult and the Cultural Revolution occurred during that time frame. He told his family of the hiding place, and upon his death in 2018, the family removed the skull from the well and donated it to the Geoscience Museum of Hebei. But what do you make of these interesting discoveries? Be sure to let us know your thoughts in the comment section below and help us by growing this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.